Good morning. This is Mayor Bob Baker. Today, we're joining the Coastal Advisory Committee for an informational and educational tour of the Prima de Checa Watershed. Now, today we're going to learn about the watershed, and that's an area of land where all the water that's under it and lands on it drains off and goes to the same place. And in this case, that place is Poche Beach. We're also going to learn more about water quality improvements that have been made to treat and reduce urban and storm surface runoff and influent groundwater that runs off to the ocean. Now, this is an important factor to keep our ocean clean. Our residents help by not overwatering their lawns, by making sure that their sprinklers don't have leaks in them, and they also support the Clean Ocean Fund. Now, the Clean Ocean Fund is dedicated to improving surface water quality and to help San Clemente comply with federal and state mandated water and urban runoff discharge requirements. So thanks to everybody in San Clemente for all you do. And now let's take a walk and go and explore the watershed.
We're taking a tour of the Prima de Checa watershed, Bob. It's the MO1 or Poche watershed as it's known. We're near the top of the developed area of the watershed, and the idea is we're going to take a look-see today and learn a little bit more about where all the water that ends up at Poche is coming from, what are the issues that contribute to water quality down there at Poche, just educate people on things they can do to reduce runoff and really understand the challenges and the scope and extent of the watershed and how we might improve beach water quality where all the water ends up.
It's important that we understand what's going on in the watershed because that's what impacts Poche Beach. And Poche has been a problem area for the city for many, many years. So we're trying to gain a better understanding. We're trying to show the public how upstream affects the Poche Beach problem.
Chairman Hart mentioned at the last stop, we've got 2,500 acres now of development up here, and this is the result of that development. So that's kind of what you see before you. It's a pretty dramatic change in 1 mile. It's 100,000 gallons a day.
Don, would you tell us what we're looking at behind us here?
What you're looking at is about 1 mile down the watershed from where the county landfill comes into the city limits, which was dry, and what's behind us here is runoff from the upper development in the Forster Ranch area up here. In the mile we've traveled, there's about 17 various drainage systems that are brought into the main channel, and what you see behind you is about 100,000 gallons a day on average going down the drain towards Poche Beach. So it's a pretty significant change in 1 mile, and it's all us. It's all excess water, potable water that are brought to our water meters and our yards that we use and in excess of our needs as far as keeping our lawns green. And that's what you see going down the drain behind us.
Okay. And Bob, tell us what that green stuff is down there, would you please?
The green stuff's the algae or the biofilm. It's actually, biofilm is an organic group of just sludge, so to speak. And it's built up by the phosphorus and nitrogen that's in the water or in the fertilizers and everything, or anything else that comes along there. The water uses it as a food source. The bacteria works on it and builds up a little green slime. It actually purifies part of the water, but it also sloughs off and lets a lot of the garbage and the trash go beyond it afterwards.
Okay, Tom, here behind us in the channel, it seems like the flows have increased somewhat from our last stop. Would you tell us a little bit about why that's happening?
Sure, they have increased. Good eye. From our location where we were last time, we've had 22 additional storm drains connect to this main channel. And all of those storm drains are connected to hundreds of catch basins collecting urban runoff throughout the watershed. So at our last stop, we had on average about 100,000 gallons a day of dry weather runoff, and now we're up into the 400,000 gallons a day range, and that's just from being another 1.5 miles down the watershed and picking up that much more watershed area.
Tom, 400,000 gallons? That sounds like an awful lot of water.
If it sounds like a lot, it is a lot. And it's a big watershed, and that's the challenge we have, and asking for everybody's help to do their part, minimize their irrigation use, go to more efficient things, visit our website, call our water conservation guy for tips. We'll help you out with the runoff reduction.
We're here just south of the Shore Cliffs Golf Course, and I'm going to ask how the Shore Cliffs Golf Course aids in managing the watershed here.
Sure. Well, the Shore Cliffs Golf Course, like any, they have a big incentive to reduce water use. It's a big cost to them. So what Shore Cliffs does, and we do inspect them routinely, and they're a good partner to the city, and what they do is they have sensors on their irrigation systems, so they're not having their sprinklers come on before, during or after a rainstorm to waste water. They routinely check their irrigation system. Over the course of a month, they've checked the entire system over the 18-hole golf course to make sure for leaks or any heads that are misadjusted or broken. They're also, in terms of their chemical using, minimal applications of fertilizers. They do spot treatment on, with pesticides, so they don't have to use any more. If there's weeds, they'll try to manually weed them as much as possible, only Roundup if necessary. For rodent control, they trap them, they don't use chemicals. The golf courts get washed in an area where the runoff infiltrates into the ground. So, they're trying to do their part to not only reduce their costs, but their impact on the environment.
Well, we've got some local residents here on the tour with us today. Would you please introduce yourself, sir?
My name is Darwin Weller. Lived here in San Clemente for many years.
Well, Darwin, I want to thank you for coming on the tour today. And tell me if you've learned anything. Has it been beneficial in any way?
Oh yes, I've learned a lot about the water runoff, and that most of it comes from the irrigation of the yards and people watering their driveways down. And it's not the cleanest water, and we're wasting several 100,000 gallons of water here. Yeah, this is Max, my dog. He and I and my wife, we walk along the beach quite often. Since we live down close there, that's a nice place to walk. And notice that we do find some people don't pick up after their animals very often, and so I belong to the Watershed Task Force also, and so that's part of my volunteer is to pick up along the beach trails.
Well, and I'm sure Max gets picked up after him at every time. I see you've got equipment right there with you, all ready to go, Darwin. So Max won't be contributing to any bacteria in the watershed.
Bacteria results at this location did exceed standards, but they're actually lower than some of the sample points upstream. So we're getting pretty close down to the bottom of the watershed.
Peter, tell us where we are right now.
We're pretty much at the downstream end of the Prima de Seixa watershed. Specifically, we're at the downstream end of this Cascadita channel, which is collects the is at the bottom of the Forester Reserve sub-watershed.
So right now we're on Via Cascadita over by the DMV and the Salvation Army in Shore Cliffs, if y'all know where that is. And this is a side channel, and looks to me like we've got some pretty significant flows coming from this channel too. Peter, where's this come from?
This basically comes from the Forester Reserve development, and there's also some groundwater as well.
All right, well, thank you, and let's move on down. I think we're going to Poche Beach next, aren't we? Okay, let's go to Poche. We're here at the Poche Clean Beach project, and this is a very expensive clean water project to build. Tom, would you talk about the funding sources for this project?
Sure. So it's about a $3 million project. About $1.5 million came from a state Clean Beaches Initiatives grant. And then the city put in $500,000. And the My Ocean Institute, which is a nonprofit, dedicated towards environmental improvement, That's the cost to build the project, and then of course there is a cost to operate and run it, and so the city pays most of the way on that. We pay about 60% of the ongoing operational costs, and the county picks up the rest. And we have an agreement. Our share could be up to $150,000 a year. Thankfully, we've only been running about $100,000 a year as our cost, but that's again due to the electricity and the pumping required for the water and the UV treatment.
And in actuality, we are not really in technically the city of San Clemente, but the San Clemente city residents. This is one of our major beaches. That's why the city funded a lot of this stuff. Is that correct, Tom?
Yeah, our citizens use the beach here. It's a county beach, but as we learned on our watershed tour, we've got San Clemente water coming down here, and so we have a big stake in it to make the water quality improved.
We hear that term a lot, stakeholder, and we are certainly a stakeholder in Poche Beach and the process of making some clean water here.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Well, tell us a little bit about a couple of these parts. Bill, would you mind telling us what some of these parts are that we see? We see looks like a dam there, and it looks like a tennis net there in the middle of a tennis court. Would you tell us what those are?
Well, what we're seeing is a screen that's catching a lot of the big trash that's coming down the channel. And as we all know, there's trash that comes out on the street and ends up at the beach. Well, we're trying to filter that out at a gross level right there. And then we see the top of the valve system that allows the water into the treatment system, and that's fed by this movable dam. And this movable dam can either be lowered to allow high flow to go out directly out into the ocean, but during periods of spring and summer and early fall, when it's low flow or comparatively low flow, we raise that dam and divert the water into the treatment system.
As you notice the pond behind us here, folks, there's a couple of sand berms on either side. Tom, would you tell us about those?
Sure, those berms have been built up by the County Parks Department. They were able to get some permits from the regulatory agencies that now give them a lot more flexibility to manage this outlet. And people who frequent the beach know, they can remember not too long ago when the catwalk used to be flooded because the pond level was high and there was barely any water going out, and the county just wasn't allowed to manage it in the way they thought they should be able to. They did get the new permits, so they come out here, they do monitor the pond level, and if it starts getting high close to that catwalk, they'll come out here with tractors and open up this berm and move around the sand like we've seen. And since they've been under that new program, I think everyone will agree it's been a lot safer, better to access. That catwalk hasn't been flooded. If people do see that, let the county know. You can go to ocgov.com and get to the Parks Department, but they do monitor it pretty actively, and I think the feedback is they've been doing a good job. But let us know, or let the city know if you don't agree or if you find a problem, and we'll get them out here.
Tom makes a very, very important point there. If you see something wrong down here, if you see something not working down here, please, please, please let someone know about it. Tom, would you also talk about the lack of seagulls down here today?
Right. Well, I mentioned that the county installed an ultrasonic bird deterrent system, and it appears like it's working pretty well. We see hardly any birds out here. And we'll continue to see how that happens during the summer if it's successful. But we've had, over the last couple months, really a lack of any significant amount of birds. There can be literally thousands at this location, as locals know. Haven't seen anywhere near that number at all, hardly any. And we've had really good beach water quality. So we're thinking there's a link there, and we're hopeful that we're able to keep them away, and that'll result in some improved water quality this summer.
And Tom, where is that fabulous chart you showed me earlier with the most recent beach grades for Poche Beach?
I've got a printout of it, but it's off healthebay.org, and our beach grades for the last 30-day period, AA+, dry weather, wet weather, really good, and we're hopeful we're going to maintain a high level, high quality this summer.
Okay, get that, folks. That's from healthebay.org. Susan Ambrose, another member of the Coastal Advisory Committee, has got something we'd like to show here. This is something from the Clean Ocean program here, and it's got the address of the website there. Susan, you want to tell them what that is?
The website is www.sccleanocean.org, and community members can go up to the city building off of Calle Negocia and go to the community development department and either get one of these white canvas bags or a more larger grocery sized bag for free. So go do it. Switch out. And this is what it's all about. At the end of all this tour, clean oceans is what it's all about, Mr. Mayor Baker.
Okay, thank you very much, Susan. And
Thank you.
Bill's got a couple of words a couple of points he'd like to make here at the end of our tour. Bill, would you say a couple of words?
Well, Mayor Baker, what we saw was a 4,400 acre watershed, and we illustrated dramatically how urban runoff collects throughout the developed areas of the city and all flows down here to Poche Beach. But we also have to remember that there are many, many other watersheds in the city and similar outlets. So this is just one example. So we ought to remind the folks back home that just about everything you do in the city, whether it's overwatering your lawn or washing your car on the street and dumping chemicals or oil on the street, or carelessly throwing away cigarettes or litter on the street, it's going to end up in the ocean. The ocean begins at your front door, folks, and when we have problems down at the ocean, it's all of our fault. You can't point to just one person. Everyone has to be careful with our Mother Ocean.
Folks, we had a great time today filming this around town video. It's fabulous to walk around our little town and look at these little things that you drive by every day and you just don't notice them. All this technology that we saw today is just, it all works and it all helps and it all contributes to our fabulous, beautiful ocean and keeping it clean out there. If you need more information on urban runoff and water quality issues, please call 949-366-1553. That's a 24-hour-a-day number if you need to report spills and other illegal discharges. You can call the city phone number during daytime hours for less time-sensitive issues, and that's 949-361-8200. For pollution prevention tips, please visit www.sccleanocean.org. Thanks again for tuning in to this Around Town video, and I'll be seeing you some more around town. Thank you very much. This has been Mayor Bob Baker.